Hi guys, hope you're having a great morning. It's Fred and Sheila with Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures and FS Investigates.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. First of all, that's not the background. There is not one of the pictures from Trooper Edrington. That is just put there to show that's a gunshot to the head.
Right.
That's off to the left. Johnny's was center. Johnny's was right between the eyes. But that did have the same effect we'll talk about later on. First of all, before we go any further, let me explain. All the videos are out of the phone call, correct, Sheila? With Jimmy. I mean, they're, by the time this one plays,
yes,
they will all have
yes. Sorry.
What Sheila and I are on now is where we met at the scene of Trooper Edrington's death. Mm-hmm. We're on the side of the road. The rest of these videos that we show, except maybe the last one, will be there. So, just as a safety measure, let me explain that anything coming up that we talk about or the pictures that you might see may be graphic. Maybe graphic. If your family or something, you may want to let somebody else watch the video. And it's been 37 years. Probably doesn't make it no easier for people that know them. Now, we're not going to show any pictures of. We don't have any pictures of of Johnny. We requested a picture of just his hand, his left hand, with the gun in it. And the Phelpses was afraid. They didn't want to. They don't want to do anything to compromise. Really, it's a wake up call because Jimmy's words was that he was afraid of state police, and that's sad that we have to be afraid that he's a trooper and afraid of our own law enforcement agency of retaliation. They won't investigate. They don't want nobody else to. Well, it's not even an investigation. It's an arrest. We need somebody arrested. We need somebody charged.
Right.
So remember that the next few videos may be graphic in talk, in speech, in pictures, and we've got a demonstration coming up, Sheila and I do, that we did. Not a scientific demonstration, but it is a demonstration trying to prove our point through visual assistance for you guys. You can determine whether it's helpful or not. Next thing I want to do before I do anything else, Sheila and I both, is thank
Jimmy and Johnny Phelps.
Jimmy and Johnny Phelps. Guys, some of these videos that you've watched, you'll see where Jimmy has said something on the telephone, and I've come back and put something in there as a response. Mm-hmm. The reason I've done that is because I've seen real fast that me and Jimmy was not going to be able to, both of us, say and speak what we wanted to say and speak. We just, both of us feel strongly about what we've got to say, and sometimes we both tried to say it at the same time. Sometimes we got distracted. Sometimes I'll speak for myself. I'm getting older, and it's not hard for me to lose my train of thought or get on something else. So we do want to thank Jimmy and John. No matter how we may disagree with them on the manner of death. On the manner of death. That's what Sheila said the other day when we were going to meet them. Said, tell them, we agree to disagree. Guys, as far as this S-side thing, that dog won't hunt. This is a homicide. 3 medical examiners and others called it a homicide 37 years ago. It was a homicide then. It's a homicide today. We can't go 37, 38 years later and say, let's hold a inquiry, a coroner's inquiry. Let's do this.
Coroner's inquest.
Inquest. I'm sorry, baby. Inquiry, inquest. We can't do that when all the people that investigated it, except for one, and the one that investigated it that had a different take of undetermined, undetermined at the time, may have changed 38 years later, but at that time, it was undetermined. And he specifically said that he's never told anyone that it was a S side. So we're going to take him at his word in the newspaper and all that. And that would be Dr. Hunsaker, but Dr. Hunsaker found it undetermined. He couldn't determine what the cause of death was. That is why his supervisors, that is why more experienced medical examiners, more experienced pathologists came into the picture. And, Sheila and I have been talking, and hypothetically, go look at our waiver, our disclaimer at the end of our videos. We allege, we speculate, we give our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But could it be that Dr. Hunsaker had messed that? Remember, he was an associate intern. I don't know how many he had done at the time, autopsies, but could he have messed that autopsy up so bad that they had to come in? It had to be reevaluated. You're going to hear here later on, we're going to talk about MRIs. We're going to talk about the trajectory of travel of the bullet, the CAT scans, all these different, what techniques was performed on Johnny's body? Was the skull reconstructed to put a dowel rod or whatever and do these? I'm not a pathologist. I'm not a medical examiner. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. But Bubba, I'll be here all week.
Yep.
But that's some of our questions. So this theory about this being an S side is just that. It's a theory. It's a theory that, and without insulting anybody, because I respect these two gentlemen. They served as Kentucky State Troopers, and we've met them, and we found
very
nothing.
Nice.
They are sincere in what they believe, what they think, or they seem to be. And I wonder, and I asked them, and I've printed it several times, is it pride? Is it just that it was a rush to judgment and it was called so early on that it was an S side, and some people just too proud to say, well, maybe we were wrong. And then each one of them supported the other one, and now everybody's afraid to back off. They don't want to leave each other, because the majority of state troopers, state police, heavies, higher uppers, pathologists, medical examiners, they all call this a homicide. We're going to discuss that in a minute. Right now, Sheila's going to play a video. Now, this video is hard to...
Yes, we picked one of the busiest days to go stand beside the road and do an interview. So you're going to hear a lot of traffic. So sorry.
Sheila, we've done this video probably, this is our fifth time.
Yes.
We've done this video. And
tried to take out the background noise, but then it messes up the voice.
She's got a program where she can take out the trucks going by and the wind, and but when she does that, it distorts our voices. There's going to be times that you can't understand, you can't hear. We'll try to fill you in on what was said, or at least if we can just get the headline of the topic, because we know Jimmy and Johnny's take. Jimmy stated it very well in his phone interview. Johnny does the same. He feels the same way as Jimmy.
Right.
And Sheila and I feel the way we do. We feel homicide. They feel S side. It doesn't matter. It's ruled a homicide 37 years ago. And that's what it is. It's always going to be a homicide. There's nothing going to change that. Short of bringing Vincent
Mayo
back, George Nichols, Chief Medical Examiner, David Jones, Kentucky State Medical Examiner, and all these people that looked at what evidence they had. Remember, and that may be where the mistake was made, where Dr. George Nichols and Dr. David Jones here in Kentucky, maybe a case like this, with the Kentucky State Trooper being involved, maybe they should have done the autopsy themselves. No doubt they should have seen that was going to be a high profile, a big publicity death. Maybe they should have done it themselves in the beginning. Yeah. And that way, any mistakes, not saying that he did, but I have a feeling that there was plenty of mistakes made. Maybe why we can't see or they won't release. I think there's mistakes made all the way around, medical examiner's office and the Kentucky State Police investigators. But let's watch this video and let's talk to Jimmy and Johnny. When you see the first part of this video, don't think you've done seen it, because you haven't. What you've seen was a snippet.
Just a little snippet of what was to come, so that y'all can be prepared.
A teaser that Sheila put on the back of the last video.
Right.
All right, guys. We'll catch you during this video probably.
I'll
probably interrupt you.
It's all good.
With us now, we done made a little introduction. It's Jimmy over here.
Jimmy Phelps.
And Johnny Phelps. And they're telling us right now that that's almost exactly where Johnny Edrington made the traffic stop, or where his vehicle was that night.
The cruiser was probably back. Johnny's cruiser was probably back this way, 15 feet. Wherever Johnny's body was, the cruiser was back this way.
Okay.
This side. Yeah.
So if we're looking at this view right now, Johnny's body, let's say there's a violator there. It would have been off to the right, in between the two vehicles, if he had a violator in front of him.
He was over in the grass.
Okay.
Now, guys, if you'll notice, I keep saying if he had a violator there. If there was a violator there, he would have been. The reason I'm saying it like that is, on another video there, the Phelpses don't believe. They say they don't believe there was a violator. They say that they believe that Johnny just came to that straight stretch where he can see traffic in both directions, where he could go over and lay down in that ditch at an incline like that with his head back there and off himself. That's what they believe. See, we believe from the truck driver that saw Johnny turn on a truck, just happened to be a stolen truck from Somerset coming from that direction.
Right.
That night. But not only that, since Sheila and I have been investigating this, we've had a gentleman call up that was talked to 36 years ago. And when him and another person had come up the hill from Somerset, they saw the blue lights on Johnny's car. They saw the police car parked there. And they saw a violator pull out. They saw a vehicle pull out, which would have been the violator and the murderer. They saw it. So Jimmy and Johnny says they don't believe there was a violator there. They think he just pulled over there on that straight stretch where he could do that and see in both directions. Well, first of all, this is 1988. This road here, and we've been traveling it for years and years and years. That's when we moved to Somerset, in fact. It was 1989. That road was not traveled like it is today then.
Right.
So he didn't have to worry about traffic. There was not a lot of traffic. Walmart wasn't open all night long, 24 hours, and all these different things. So unless somebody was going to the hospital, there wasn't going to be a lot of traffic. Johnny was on that road because that's a straight stretch. Straight into Pulaski County, a straight stretch with a couple of passing zones. Johnny was patrolling that. That was a honey hole. He was there to monitor traffic or maybe even write some citations. Go ahead. There was something else on my mind, but maybe it'll come back.
Talking about the gentleman here?
Yes, thank you, babe. Thanks. Talk about that police car, guys. We in the beginning of that last video, we were so elated that state trooper had pulled a violator over that day while Sheila and I were standing there. This was not planned. This was not something for a video.
Right.
This actually happened in real life. That was the good Lord. He sent that trooper there to show you all, give you a visual of where Johnny Edrington was parked that night and exactly what had happened. He pulled a car over. He got out and approached the car. We don't know if he approached it on the passenger side or driver's side. We don't know what happened after that.
Right.
We've been told what supposedly happened, and it really, really makes sense. But unless the state police goes and talks, interviews some of these people or somebody in a law enforcement position, because we believe that a person can get the answers if they'll talk to people correctly.
Exactly.
And we just believe that with all of our heart. We believe that Jimmy and Johnny Phelps had nothing to do with Edrington's death. We've said that over and over. Now that's our opinion. We don't put that in gold. Anything may happen.
Right.
You never know what may happen tomorrow. I may grow hair by tomorrow. You can't never. But as far as we can tell with the evidence that we have, which is nothing, not one shred of evidence that Jimmy and Johnny Phelps, other than rumors that's started years ago and escalated throughout the years. Let's move on.
Okay, here we go.
In the grass, but if there was a vehicle, if he did in fact make a traffic stop that night, he would have been
down there.
Somewhere between the two vehicles. Yeah. And that's what guys, we appreciate you.
He would probably be where his cruiser was parked, and that where that cross is from his cruiser.
Okay. I got some flags. After he leaves, we'll go.
If y'all didn't understand what Johnny just said, Johnny Phelps, he said that Johnny Edrington would have been about where his cruiser is, about where the cross is. So you can see the cross. We have set it a little bit farther to the right.
Right.
So that when they mow, they wouldn't run over it and damage it, or somebody run over it, hit it. And so he's in the ditch line somewhere between his cruiser and where that violator is there now, but he's about 6 or 8 feet off the edge of the highway.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Thank you, baby.
Up there. That's why we was trying to beat the rain. I'm going to set this right here.
So we don't want to do
That's right. Well, we're hauling after that. Let me show that picture. I think he may be another picture. I'm referring to, we have been sent things throughout our investigative stages, and that's what I'm replying to there, because we had been sent something and we was asking who these people were, and which turned out to have no relevance, because we were told that Jimmy and Johnny was in it, and they were not. Just another I don't know, rumor or mistaken identity. And so what we're talking about there had no relevance to this case, but I had to ask about it.
Right.
Go ahead.
This was later on.
I don't know. That's not Jack's cruiser. You see that? You got a new one, a different one, I guess.
busy highway.
We'll let him get done, and then we'll move up there. Let me go ahead and get this here. I'm gonna get them to look right there too.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I got the microphones on.
Guys, Jimmy and Johnny is going to walk us through what happened or where they was at that night when they got here to investigate. And I was telling the camera a while ago, we got two different opinions. We believe it was a homicide. You guys and Doug Asher, along with believe that it was a suicide.
Probably every detective that was on the scene that night that I'm aware of.
Okay. Sheila, can you hear?
I've got the mic. You got the microphone.
Now, we're going to stop and interrupt. I'm sorry to do this to you, but for the people that's followed along, we want to explain as we go along.
Right.
What we said there was Sheila and I believe this was a homicide. Jimmy and Johnny believes it was an S-side. Well, bottom line is, from here on out, after today's video, it's not even going to be, we're going to go ahead and discuss it today and talk about that, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. This is a homicide. It was ruled a homicide. The evidence pointed to a homicide. Everybody ruled it a homicide. So no matter what somebody thinks, it's what it was ruled and what the evidence showed. Now, and no disrespect to these two gentlemen. I don't want to in no way seem like I'm disrespecting them, because they took time out of their day to meet with us.
Right.
They were nothing but great, and they were helpful. But Doug Asher wrote a book on this 35 years later. It wasn't important enough for Doug Asher to complain, go to the FBI, go to the United States Attorney's Office. It wasn't enough if he felt that insurance fraud was being committed and somebody was getting insurance money that they shouldn't be getting. That's fraud. That's what police officers investigate. I'm sure, I know I have. I'm sure these two gentlemen, I'm sure Doug Asher has charged at least one person, at least worked one insurance fraud case during their career. They're common. It's common for people to defraud insurance companies, either accidents or anything. So my question is, I'm leading up to here is why everybody didn't complain until there was some kind of investigation 37 years ago if they didn't agree with the outcome of the coroner's, of the medical examiner's findings. Now, you're going to hear him say in a minute, Johnny, I'll give you a heads up. Johnny's going to say, well, they didn't want to lose their jobs. Everybody was afraid of losing their jobs. Guys, if we're going to be law enforcement officers and we got to stand up and we're going to take other people to jail for less things than insurance fraud, we've got to stand up. We've got to, if we lose our jobs, we lose our jobs. I know it sounds easy. It's not, because I've done it. We done it. We did it. And it didn't get us nowhere. Didn't even got some people arrested, some people charged, some people convicted. But I can see their point.
Exactly.
I can see their point, but I can't see if you're not going to do it then, don't wait till everybody's drawing these big retirement checks from the Kentucky State Police. Kentucky State Police paying out some big money on these retirement checks every month, and then come up 37 years later and say, well, they did wrong. That's the time to have done it was back then. Notice me standing there in front of them guys. See, I'm 6'1". You can imagine how big those fellas. Those are some good sized fellas there. Okay, let's go, baby.
Microphone's on, so they're on.
It's a question, Johnny, because we've heard Doug say that. We know that. That's what you paint by. We've heard Doug say that Lewis, Will Stewart was the three detectives working the case.
He was three, but there were several others. Robert Isaacs, he's deceased now, out of Richmond.
He's talking about Roger Isaacs. Trooper, he said he's deceased now, or detective. Guys, everybody almost on this case, very few are still alive. I mean, there are some still alive, but some of the major players that Asher refers to in his book as higher ups, the medical examiner, 3 of them's dead. The 3, he says here that all the detectives on the scene agreed that it was a S-side. In the last 2 or 3 videos, Sheila continuously, and she'll probably throw it in right here, but she puts the report, the UOR, offense report, uniform offense report, that a police officer fills out for any crime, burglary, theft, unlawful taking, homicide, assault. This is a form that police officers fill out. Uniform offense report. Well, one of the detectives that they're referring to, in fact, he's going to talk about him right now. His name's William Stewart. He says we called him Wimpy Stewart. That's the nickname they had for each other. Well, if you'll look down at the bottom of this form, she's probably posting it right now whenever she does her editing. You'll see William Stewart at the bottom. He's the one that filled this report out. And up at the top, title of investigation, it says murder, homicide, capital offense. It didn't say S-side, possible homicide, possible S-side. It didn't say. It said murder, capital offense. 503020, I think, is the KRS for murder. I could be wrong after been out of it for a while. Go ahead, baby.
There were several involved in the investigation.
Okay, have you all seen Will Stewart's UOR report? Well, his report on the UOR that he filled out in one of our videos, but it says, it's titled, title of investigation, murder, homicide. So that's a detective.
Well, he was lieutenant detective, matter of fact.
Okay.
And just to be honest with you, Frankfurt took over this investigation.
Okay.
Wimp Stewart, we call him Wimp.
Okay.
He wasn't going to cross Frankfurt. He was a lieutenant, going to be promoted to captain, going up later to rank. So he wasn't going to cross.
And on the says he was a lieutenant. He was getting ready to go up for captain, and he wasn't going to jeopardize that. See, guys, that's personal gain. It's important now that we can talk about somebody's family and say, well, they off themselves. We can do this and that, but everybody's drawing retirement. Well, he's deceased now, they're saying. But this guy felt that, they're saying that he felt, we don't know how he felt because we wasn't there. We haven't talked to him. And in Asher's book, Asher tells everything in the world about everybody. The funny thing about it is they're all dead. So it's pretty hard to go back and ask a person, did you say this or did you say that? Well, because they're dead. But Johnny here is saying that man was lieutenant, getting ready to go up for captain, and didn't want to jeopardize that, so he didn't say, well, why are we saying anything 37 years later? We got to accept the verdict of homicide. Let's try to find the murderer now. Go ahead.
Take place. But when they open up the investigation, the murder investigation, until you determine it's not. But the state police never did change the investigation. They left it.
Johnny, that's a great point. And that's our concern, because I've been where you guys were at, I've been where they were at, and you got two choices. You can either stand up, lose your job, because that's what was going to happen if the person goes against the system, or you go along with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, Sheila and I are probably as disgusted as you are by now with our sound. She has done everything in the world for 3 days to try to get better sound, to try to cut the trucks and the traffic out while we're stupid. We stood in a terrible area to do an interview. We wanted to be on the spot where we could show you, and we thought the mics would pick up better. Well, they picked up so good that they picked up a wind going by. We're going to continue with the video. It's probably going to make some of you mad. We're going to try to make out what they said and what we said, and we'll try to comment on it. And if we can't, we just have to let that part go. And but we'll see where we get. We're going to continue on with this video. Sorry. Hopefully, go ahead.
Hope it works.
Hope it works, and we hope the other ones, because this is just a small thing of a video.
Mm-hmm.
She's got some more to go, so hopefully because we go over there to where Johnny's body was and do some more video on. But let's see what happens here.
Asher that wrote a book on it that actually got this where we're at today. He's got us here because Sheila and I, we'd heard about it. I was a detective then.
What I said there is Asher has got us where we're at today, meaning when he come out with his book and started everything like he did 35 years later, Asher's the one that got this started with his book and saying it was a suicide even after it's been ruled a homicide by many. And that's where Jimmy and Johnny, they were talking about, that's where it came up again, about their names were brought into it again and so forth. And they're just having to live everything all over again. Once again, let me make it clear. Sheila and I have not found one shred of evidence that implicates either one of those guys in any wrongdoing as far as Johnny's death. We've still got some thoughts on whether they were as bigger friends as maybe they thought they were or something, but because there were some things that supposedly happened. But anyway, let's go on, babe.
Okay.
And we go on with it. And it wasn't until we saw the TV interview and ordered his book that we realized, why didn't that man stand up at that time?
See, he did. He went above everybody else and went above to the commissioner, Michael Troop. And he told Mike Troop it was a suicide. but they didn't want to hear it. He was a captain at London Post, and he did do that at that time. But that doesn't cause
goes against deaf ears. You know, Michael True, Colonel Doris Kirk, Jerry Lovett, was headstrong. You know, today we realize that suicide and mental illness is a real problem. State police didn't say that back then. Regular troopers weren't going to commit suicide.
No. And another thing. The only thing, and we've thought about it like everybody else over the years, the only thing we could come up with, Ross, the state police did not want this to be a suicide. The benefits it cost his family. That's the only thing we can come up with.
Well, I know the state police. Let's go with that. Let's say the state police wanted to take care of his family. What about the FBI, the equivocal group?
The FBI gave him a report that he was suicide, and they don't want that. They didn't want that report.
Have you seen that, Jimmy? Have you seen that report? Because we've heard the other way around also. See, we don't have no proof.
Are you saying that the FBI said that it was homicide?
Yes.
No, they did not. They did not. And we got a lieutenant who was there in Franklin at the time to give a statement was that.
What we're discussing there is Jimmy brought up a report from the FBI. He said in that report, it says suicide. And I said, have you seen that report, Jimmy? And because we think it's the other way, or we heard that it was the FBI's report was the other way. Right. We've also heard that there was no report. We've also heard that the FBI never did a report. Jimmy says, well, maybe he got sidetracked, but he didn't answer the question when I said, have you seen the report? Maybe he's like me and we lose our train of thought and we go to something else. Was it intentional, or did he just lose his chain of thought? But when I said, have you seen the report?
He said, are you saying the FBI said it was
a homicide?
He said,
the question here is there a report, period? That's what Sheila and I don't buy into sometimes. We like physical evidence that we can hold in our hand. Where is that report? If there is an FBI report, wouldn't that be something the state police could release? The FBI, Jimmy says the FBI did the report, then the FBI would still have, I don't care if it's 37 years later, I think the FBI would have everything on microfilm or something. Sheila and I have researched things back from the 1800s and found things through microfilm and different. So, go ahead, Becky.
State police were unhappy with the report that it came back. They didn't. And if you can ever get the case report, you'll find out that the FBI.
We will.
Yeah.
Let's work.
And the FBI.
When I'm working together.
The FBI report won't be in that investigation. Let them show the investigation to us. I'll say the FBI report is not in that investigation.
That though. Surely the FBI would. See, guys, Sheila and I found out through our work, and I'm not doubting this man. They've not fibbed us or lied to us yet. We've not caught them in anything that we know of. But he says it'll be in that report. I'd say the report won't be in the file. Well, if there is no report, it wouldn't be in the file. So if you look at the state police file and there's no FBI report there, does that mean that the state police didn't put it in the file? Or does that mean that the FBI didn't do one? See, so you can take these, this is 30, 37, 38 years later.
right.
Again, the time to have done all this would have been, I know hindsight's 2020, but the time to have done all this would have been way back when it first happened. And if a person really felt that way, they could have really pursued it then while it was fresh on everybody's mind and everybody was alive. Go ahead, babe.
All right.
Still have that in their file involved.
Well, you would
somewhere.
think so. So what we need to do, we'll try to get the Laurel County Coroner or active law enforcement to request that report
Yeah.
because they
If
should
we
have
can't get
it.
it through the state police, maybe between all of us.
Well, they'll have to release it to law enforcement. They can't get it to us. They're retired because I've tried it already.
Yeah.
You know, I already
Why would
tried
they want to cover that up? If there was really a equivocal examination, investigation, why didn't the state police put that into the report? Or is it?
Because if they put it in the report and it comes back suicide like everybody thought that night, then that knocks Trooper Edrington's will.
Two things there. First of all, my train of thought went to what he just said, or marked it as suicide as everybody saw it that night. Well, once again, we'll have to correct that and say that that's not the way everybody saw it. We've had dinner, we've talked to people, we've looked at photo albums, all the troopers that were there that night didn't feel it was a S side. They didn't, and it's easy for Jimmy to say that, and maybe that's what he thought all these years, but that's not. And maybe that's why some of the speculation and some of the rumors got started. Sheila and I have talked about this because maybe they were so bent on it being a S side that everybody thought, why are they wanting to call this a S side so fast? They must be covering something up. So Jimmy and Johnny may be their own worst enemies in this rumor thing by being so, I'm not going to say closed-minded, and that brings me to my point. Thank you, Lord, because I've lost my train of thought. But what I was going to say is there right before he said that, I was saying me and Sheila's open-minded. That's what we were saying. Now, we're not there investigating whether it's a S side or a homicide. Sheila and I know that the death certificate and at least three of the finest medical examiners in the land at the time ruled it a homicide. Those three medical examiners had the option of ruling it pending. Let's investigate some more. They had the thing of ruling it
Natural.
undetermined. They did not have to rule it a homicide. They did that because that's where the evidence led them 37 years ago. Go ahead. Hope you guys can hear some of this.
Yeah.
The benefits.
We understand that. But at the same time, and I'm sure you've seen the video, and I like standing in front of you a little bit different, but I can't back up. So I don't know. What
Okay. You were saying what you told him was now that I'm standing in front of you, you can't back up. You've seen some of our videos.
Okay.
So now that I'm standing in front of you, you can't back up.
Oh no.
And this is where the video is.
No, I don't back up. I'll try my best not to. Now you can prove us wrong and we'll change our mind and we'll correct ourselves. We do that. That's not, everybody should do that. But I won't say something and then get in front of you and bow down. If we believe some way, and Sheila and I, we try to go towards the evidence. We do. We're trying to be open-minded with these guys because they are so determined that this was a S side in their minds, whether it was rushed to judgment or whether it's because and that's where I'm going to let the melon fall.
Okay.
And we're going to try to see what happens.
Whoa.
Now, this right here just about simulates, without being too graphic, but that simulates what Johnny's head looked like.
Ooh.
It's called canoeing.
Okay.
His head had parted, his skull had parted with that bullet.
Okay.
But when he hit the ground, what they're calling haloing is exactly what you see right here. Okay. Whether you're shot laying on the ground or whether you're falling from that length, you're going to have that.
Okay.